Fisher had a fantastic Yone game against T1. I think that's a little bit weighing on their minds. Plus, the pick is quite strong right now, so I guess that is the thought process. But I do agree that
just if they want to ban something else, if they're like, okay, well, we really don't want to deal with X, you know, champion. Seems like that champ is still Yone for them.
Game đấu thứ 3 giữa Luxin và DK.
Lucian if you wanted to have a more dominant laning phase. Obviously, he had a tough
LCK
time with
rất
Fisher
căng
on
thẳng.
Tristana in game 2, so
Đầy đủ tất cả những yếu tố.
that's a change up they want to make if these bans are the same.
Có
So far,
trình có.
that is the case. See if this last ban remains the same as well. The rumble coming through on R3 for Nongshim in game 2.
Tôi đánh giá bên Luxin mà đánh khá tốt. Rồi. Cái để
It's so good at so many different types of comps that the D+ run. Ban the Corki, however.
Okay.
I mean, maybe they're going to look for a first pick Maokai themselves if this is going to be the rumble ban again. So that could be a nice adjustment here. And then Showmaker could play something like an Azir if he wants to. He could change it up completely. Could still go for a Tristana pick if that is left open. I still like the rumble ban here. Even though they won game 1, pick is just so strong right now. So is it Maokai or is it something else? Sejuani could be a consideration, as we saw Sylvie had a pretty good game for most of that game on it.
I mean, they picked Aurora in this spot last time, but that's obviously with Maokai down. So with Maokai up, and based on Kingan's performance on the Aurora, I think this is a safe bet. Even though Lucid is
con bà này khá lỗi game.
Maokai of all time, I think that
Nên chơi bảo quyền lực thiên nhiên mà combat của dễ vào đều chịu được.
That's true. And I feel like Lucid gets way too much flack for his
Corki rồi.
It was like a couple of games.
Aura vẫn còn này.
It was a combo issue as well.
Tiếp tục lại là Sensuali và Senna. Senna được Vital Money bot ở trận đầu khá tốt.
As you could just go Tristana, Aurora, and you have a good setup for the Aurora with this Maokai, but range can be an issue later on with this Senna. And D+ haven't been able to snowball these games very well, despite having early kill leads. Looking for the aiming Ezreal once again. This was mentioned in best of fives. You may be able to target this when we get to playoffs, and Aiming won't be able to carry like he did in game 2 and nearly in game 1. Maybe just grab the Leona again here, but I'd rather see a Prio pick instead. I mean, this is going to be the Aurora that they hover for now. I think Aurora plus Maokai is so incredibly strong. You lock them in place, the Aurora closes the gap, presses R, and the fight is nearly won off of that exchange alone. Plus, you can protect the Aurora with that Maokai ultimate as well.
Kind of got a half-hearted clap from the crowd when he locked that in. I think that everybody could feel that Kingan isn't the most comfortable Aurora player just yet. As everybody's still getting used to it. There's the Neela. Not too surprising. This is how Nongshim did win game number 1 with this exact bottom lane duo.
Love the Karma ban to make sure this lane doesn't get pushed in by the Ezreal. That's one way you could just lose all of your advantages in this lane instantly. It's still going to be tough. And we might see a Leona ban to follow. Not necessarily as strong into this as it was, or as strong of a support as it was in game 2 with the Neela lane. And you do often get chunked out by the Senna as we saw in game 1. Poppy's taken away. I like that ban a lot. Again, just preventing Lucid from punishing the bottom side. But this time he has the Maokai, and the Poppy here kind of signaling maybe it's just going to be Cassante that's already banned away. I'm not sure about this Poppy ban actually. Like, it threw me for a loop. I kind of forgot the Maokai was already locked. I'm like, I mean, it's strong into maybe they're thinking it's Poppy support.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that before. I think it was Ondil who played it a couple of times. But yeah, definitely kind of made at a level, but that definitely seems to be the angle they were taking.
Để rồi là để khắc chế vào vị trí của Aura.
In the lane, but if you get out of it, Nara, as we know, a very common pick here in the LCK.
Yeah. Still keeping that mid pick up in the air. The Zeri ban.
Cây sẽ làm gì đây? Hoàn thiện nốt.
Secondary AD carry threat, but Tristana is still available. And we don't know what Showmaker is playing just yet. Could be playing the Aurora, but that is unlikely as he is going to block the Tristana here. So we might just end up with Lucian mid the full AD composition feels kind of tricky to play out, but there's no true tank in this draft. Obviously, the Maokai will be quite tanky, and the Rel is relatively tanky as well, but Akali.
Yeah, no. Fisher's like nodding, he's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, nah, no, okay, this...
I don't really like the Azir either, to be honest. I think it's very much dependent on a lot of different things going well in terms of engage. Yasuo I like more.
Yasuo. Azir.
Oh.
Azir.
Now, I think the Azir is not a bad pick in isolation. It does fix your damage profile a little bit here, as you would have otherwise been full AD. But the Ezreal's can outrange it. The Tristana can play very well around it with her rocket jump. It's very difficult to punish her in the laning phase. And you're sometimes just shut out by the Maokai. You can't dash around, you can't actually set up the ult. So it feels like a very low Azir pick compared to other angles where we've seen it.
Sẽ cầm chết Tana trận đấu này.
For his Azir here in the LCK, so that's a bit of a question mark for me. Whereas the composition of D+ is insanely robust. You have ways to lock people down, to put them into Kingan's cage, drop that circle on the ground, burn them down. You have an insane split push win con with the Tristana, which I'm really tired of talking about it, but it's a big problem that they're going to have to try to solve. And I feel like this will not work twice for Nongshim unless D+ make big mistakes. Now, we've seen a lot of mistakes from D+ in those first two games, so anything is possible. This is one of those series you and I were talking about off camera. It's a little bit tough to analyze because things are not going as you'd expect.
Yeah, sometimes gets a little bit funky towards the end of the regular season when teams are prepping either for playoffs or they have a lot of pressure off their shoulders and teams are trying things and we see new picks coming out and stuff like that. So for this, though, on the side of D+ Kia seems very standard, very, what you would expect. This is here. We'll see if it works out for them. But that bottom lane, once again, we're happy about that for the side of Nongshim. Let's see how it goes as we hop on the Rift for Game 3. Alrighty, game number 3. A game number 3 that I feel like we are gifted. Did not quite expect rather to have a game 3 in this one. I thought DK would just come in and, Nongshim's win over T1, a bit of a fluke, you could say, and DK looking strong in their last series against BNK. But that is not what happened, Wolf.
No, that's not what happened in the T1 series earlier this week, where I thought it was just going to be T1 bouncing back from a tough loss to Gen G, get their confidence back, head into the rest of their week schedule.
Vậy là trận đấu cuối cùng của loạt trận BO3 giữa DK và Đông Team đã được bắt đầu. Đông Team sẽ ở bên mình, bên phía đội đỏ, và DK sẽ ở bên phía đội xanh. Trận đấu quyết định. Đông Team sẽ tạo lên kỳ tích lần nữa hay là DK sẽ có chiến thắng nhọc nhằn 2-1 đây.
Matter at this moment in time. So it's just really about solidifying Moham, getting him some additional experience here on stage. And I think actually losing games like this is quite important for a player like Moham. He's done his fair share of losing, unfortunately, on Kwangdong, but
Bình với con bài FU vừa gánh team trận trước xong, trận này có thể gánh team được tiếp không?
I think that's fine. I mean, early on, aiming as long as he stays healthy, the Ezreal, even with the nerfs, just still feels like a really strong pick, even in the lane.
Cặp đôi Nina và Senna rất khó chịu. Nào lên trao đổi trước khi vừa lên 2 trước. Rất nhiều sát thương đến trừ vị trí của Tidu, phá chân được rồi. Ti thì phải làm xuống đến từ vị trí của Moham. Rất khó chịu khi lên 2 trước.
Because she gets more experience. Like we talked about it a lot. We talked about how Senna just sat in the lane, or Ox really spent a lot of time talking about in the space after game 1. Senna usually falls behind in XP, but with Anila you have that extra XP, and he just isn't roaming. Like he's just stacking, and this ends up being once again in the bottom lane. And the Maokai not pathing bottom side here, so they're free to continue to put the pressure on. Yeah, I mean, Moham, when you lose on Kwangdong Freaks when you're a sub, and you're a team that's the underdog and not expected to win, and it's a CV Max revolving door of supports, you know, you shrug it off and you go, well, it happens. Like this is where I am right now in my career. But when you're a dominant scorer for D+, you come in here, you're replacing Kellen. There's a lot of trust. There's clearly been a lot of discussions and plans about, hey, you're the new guy. This is probably what our playoffs roster is going to look like. And then you drop a game to Nongshim. I think that's a good experience to have. To keep your mental straight, try to figure out what comes next.
Vẫn đang hơi nhỉnh về phía DK.
Best of fives in a few weeks' time. So just wanted to mention that, as unfortunately didn't respect the Nila lane, as didn't expect this stat either. It's surprising to see a 6-loss streak for Sejuani.
I feel like the biggest reason we see that is because it's almost always into Maokai. And the timing of this is actually impeccable because Maokai is on a win streak, and I feel like Maokai is the stronger of the two tank jungles that we see most often. And this is the handshake that happens for
cảm giác thoát lính rồi để từ lúc sim rồi. Mihai và Fisher đang phải chấp nhận thua lính rồi. Của nó rất đau.
Put up there to further the point, but either way, see this mid lane is not going very well for the Azir. Another small issue that I was kind of bringing up when I was saying I didn't really like this pick that much. I know a lot of people are old school and will say, if you have a full AD comp, it just can't work in League of Legends. You gotta have an AP champion,
rất khó chịu từ vị trí của số mấy cường.
They have the Sejuani
liên tục những đàn lính được ép vào trong trụ.
I'm kind of feel like damage
Fisher cần phải có CV ở đây để giải thoát, mà không thì này thì quá rồi.
I think that there's not a ton of great matchups left available that he could have played into Tristana. Obviously, the Akali would not have been it for me either. But I think that the Azir here was just kind of a, well, that's what's left, and it's AP, and it's meta. But in this draft, we'll see what he can get done. Obviously, a rough start.
Yeah. Like you're saying, I mean, a lot of their success as well from game one came from the fact that it went very late and they had 380 carries. It wasn't just that Senna was really farmed, it was also that Fisher, although he had a very weak early and mid game, he eventually was Zeri in the late game. And he had enough items. He had 4 items by the end, and regardless of what happened in the rest of the game, he was still able to scale up, whereas I guess you could say that a bit about Azir, but as you mentioned, that's not really the meta nowadays. Azir gets outshone by 80 carries, that's just kind of the way it is. And, I mean, maybe you like Azir because if everybody's in the Aurora ult, maybe you get some big sweeps as well, but I feel like that's kind of grasping at straws. Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you on this one. I think he just picked it because, well, it's Azir, and it's safe. And it's
safe. DK xin bắt đầu khởi động cho mình 3 sâu không rồi.
He has played 11 games of Corki, including this series. It's been his most picked champion. I do think the Corki ban was
cũng đang khởi động cho mình con rồng lửa đầu tiên. Rất là hợp lý đầu mục tiêu.
And you know that adjustment in draft is pretty huge here. In the outset of this game, it's still early days. We do see Nongshim with the bottom side control of the lane. We'll be able to get this dragon. It's traded, of course, for all 3 grubs top side with the Aurora controlling the top lane. And this happened last time we had Aurora in Dinar. We didn't really watch it, but if you're paying attention to the numbers, you can kind of see that the matchup is, I don't want to say unplayable, but it feels really frustrating. And no Magic Mantle is nerfed as well on this patch, so see what happens here in this trade.
Showmaker's just going in, and he will get swept away. Here comes Sylvie, he's gonna flash down just to get over the wall. Very awkward trade there.
Chưa có bola băng đến từ vị trí của TV.
They will enjoy the Tristana flash. Yeah, that was the best way to handle an Emperor's Divide as Tristana is the rocket jump. So if you use it in his face, you're like, wait, she doesn't have that anymore. Yeah. Very bizarre, as Lucid is now
rất hay lao vào áo trường. Phải chịu vị trí CV.
One small mistake. I mean,
ui, Fisher đang rất thấp máu.
Fisher is very low now after that Showmaker ult.
Trying to take away the Raptors as well. A bit of those go over to Lucid, but most of them will go over to Nongshim. And there's no dragon to fight over or anything like that at this point in time. They already got the dragon and did Nongshim, so.
Vital's like, thanks for stacks. Yep. He's picking up some more souls over here. Vital will need to leave now, though, as well. Yeah, a bit of a chain reaction there off of Showmaker's play. Ends up being a small win here for Nongshim.
Well, he's going to bully Mihail away. from the plant. He says, that is my plant.
This is such a bizarre situation.
I will take it home now.
Vital is roaming a little bit here in this early game. We'll come over and try to make that play, grab some souls. Aiming is not actually pushing this wave, so...
Yeah, he's got it pushing into him. This is a great position for the Ezreal.
He's frozen it. It's pretty frustrating to deal with here. You can see Moham is in the river, coming over looking for a potential punish.
He only denied the one wave. Doesn't look like he wants to continue denying too much. I mean, he's still got 3. So it's kind of like a soft freeze, right?
Yeah.
But he had enough minions to freeze it for longer if he really wanted to.
I do feel like this is something we see very few bottom laners actually do when we have the roaming Senna, is to just try to deny that farming champion. You know, when the fasting Senna is there, like it's Nautilus or an Ornn, try to deny farm from them. In this case, kind of stopping Jiwoo a little bit from getting some of that farm during that roam, during that play topside. So a good call from Aiming. He doesn't lose anything from this. Very frustrating to deal with. For the Nongshim bottom duo, but they are linked up now, and we'll try to get that push back.
Yeah. I guess the only potential thing you lose is like pressure on the plates, but it seems like he didn't think they were going to get plates anyway. And yeah, that's totally fine. You're denying more gold than you're actually gaining from
exactly. I think that's really the reason why he doesn't hard push for it, and considering it's Aiming, the gold king. I mean, he's using a lot of restraint.
Can we question him though? You know?
No, he's got the restraint required.
Yeah. He's not just about his number. He's more about the gap between the numbers. He likes when the production puts him at the top and the AD carry at the bottom of the other team. And Showmaker in a lot of pressure here, and that's just going to be first blood. Sylvie able to dive under the turret and take him down. Now Lucid is here. We got a roam coming in from Kingen. Fisher pretty low. Not sure if he's going to be able to help without Divide as well. Sylvie does have his bottom lane coming on over, as this is going to get pretty risky, I would say, as the ult is going to come down here from Kingen. Holds them all in play as the True Shot Barrage does an insane amount of damage. And that is just going to be a double kill over to Lucid and a bonus kill for Kingen.
Yeah, this was a good idea in terms of catching Showmaker alone, but obviously staying around a little bit too long there. I mean, not much they could do. Fisher takes a ton of damage on the initial exchange, and it's a really good rotation over from Kingen. True Shot Barrage is massive. As look at this setup, like, he's able to identify they have no wards here. Fisher, I mean, Showmaker's surprised for sure by the Emperor's Divide engage. He's basically in point-blank range, though Sylvie hits the ult afterwards, but now he's stuck here. The ultimate came through from Vital to help secure this kill, so he doesn't have it to save Sylvie now. And Aiming is like, I also have a global ultimate here. And with the lockdown of Kingen plus that True Shot Barrage, it is just easy pickings here, 4D plus. So it looked like a great start. The first kill comes through, ends up being a disaster as 3 fall on the side of Nongshim, or 2 fall rather.
Oh.
Nice.
Trade for 1 grub goes the way of Lucid. And they're looking for more. They have the Tristana, they have the Ezreal. Fantastic. Pushing 80 carries, especially the Tristana. So they get the 4. They're not going to overcommit for more, although they do have Lucid there still. And trying to get to work on those, but again, not overcommitting.
Certainly not.
So, you know, Veigar, a lot of casters will call his event horizon the baby cage.
Yes,
right?
Much to my chagrin.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it either, but it happens, right? What about Aurora's ult?
Adult
what kind of cages? See, adult cages is kind. I don't really like that either. As now they're just trying to gank gaming, but Moham was here, so now turning into a bit of a 2-on-2.
How about the champion cage?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah,
sounds better.
No one knows what her ult's called. I feel like literally not even one person's ever named it.
You know, Atlas is very good at naming all the abilities. I personally am not. And I saw it like 3 times. Since it's been played so much, I was on the space, I was looking at the abilities, I'm like, okay, this is the name. And I've forgotten it.
So. Oh, they told us on the prompter.
Ah, yes.
Feeding.
Between Worlds.
Yeah.
You didn't want to, but I just blurted it out.
So how about Champion Cage? I like that more.
Yeah.
Seems easier to remember.
Or just the cage.
Mihail is going to take a third of Showmaker's health bar, but unfortunately, is in a little bit of danger. Won't be able to do anything more off of that Gnar, but he clears the wave.
Look at the turret health is just like slowly being chipped away at. We got a TP coming in here.
Kill top side laner. Go.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the 1v1, feels pretty good for Fisher, as now, again, flash available for Showmaker. Sentinel's coming in. There's the flash, and he still gets taken out. And Fisher didn't even need Sylvie.
Nope. That was actually so clean, and the angle for Jiwoo's ult, predicting exactly where the jump would land, was so beautiful to watch. Now he's in trouble, though.
Or Vital, yes. Yeah, the Senna player. Understandable confusion there.
They can't be supports playing Senna. That was never a thing while I was a caster.
Yeah. Times change. Well, now the cage is going to miss, and Fisher gets out, but this push from DK is very good. But how about the turn coming out from Nongshim? Jiwoo keeps them around. The TP comes in from Ohio. As everybody is so low, Jiwoo will dodge the True Shot barrage. Kingen makes his way over as well, but it's just a kill lockdown for Vital on the Senna.
Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit shaky here for D+. They had a pretty comfortable lead in this game, especially if you consider the CS difference in top. And they've now given two dragons. It is Chemtech Soul, which is kind of helpful for Senna, but otherwise, you know, and kind of Neela as well with the tenacity. But they're going to lose this dragon, or rather lose this turret, his first turret going over to D+. But some of these fights are starting to get a little bit shaky as Showmaker here just does not expect this Azir to show up. The ult comes out first, and then he, after the rocket jump, is able to easily get the divide, and that's that Vital ult I was talking about. Although I did incorrectly say Jiwoo. That was really well placed, and he ends up flashing to get the kill. Over here, we're really just trying to force plates, and there's a TP and a Neela. So just really good reaction here from the side of Nongshim to actually be able to punish this. Lucid goes back in as well to try to buy some space here. Will ultimately still go down. And they get the turret afterwards anyways, and the TP. So it's still relatively decent here for D+, but I think they wanted that to be a little bit cleaner. The TP for a TP, turret still goes down.
Yeah, at the end of the day, keeps Nongshim in a really good spot. They got those first two Drakes as well for just a bit of bonus, and maybe even just a very bonus Chemtech Soul. As you mentioned before, it's not the greatest, but it's not bad to get, obviously. And we'll see if we can see any big Mega Cone engages as well. I feel like you'll definitely see it out of a Gnar, out of a Sejuani, trapped in the cage here is Jiwoo, who's taking a ton of damage and has to cleanse, but it's Ezreal, and aiming just shuts that down. Jiwoo with no sums outside of the cleanse, it's not enough to get him away.
Yep, and that's a good pick. And weirdly enough, Aurora, because her ultimate range is just so big and you can't get out of it, she just is kind of a pick champ. Like, she does a ton of AoE damage and zoning in team fights and can win you a fight just by placement of her ultimate. We've seen so many times, though, if you're a little bit too far forward, she just presses R and then could easily follow up because there's no escape. As Kingen will play very respectfully here. Sylvie is in the area until Moham comes down. He was a little bit of threat.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play the game of kill side lane top laner over and over again, as we had in the first couple of games. Mom's here, so they just back away.
Clear the wave pretty quickly, and he didn't have ult, so slightly concerning after that pick in mid. So we are setting up for that third dragon. We'll watch this one more time. There is a trinket here. Jiwoo tries to run away, steps back for just a second, but I think either way he still gets hit by this. Just a great play from Kingen, Wing into range, closing the gap, aiming, cleaning up house here. There's no minions on the turret, but it doesn't matter. The damage has been done.
Aiming. Simple cleanse, but it's still a tier 1 that's taken by Nongshim. Kind of, we didn't really see the setup for that, but it was only aiming under the turret, probably just trying to get the advantage after the backs came in from DK, and they absolutely will.
Yeah, D+ have a Rift Herald. That's a low-value dragon, but they certainly could just drop it here to get Prio to set up for a team fight. Kingen has his ultimate back online now, and he is in really good position. They might just not need it, to be honest, as they're not going to contest. Nongshim are not going to fight into this really nice setup with the Aurora ultimate between worlds for just a Chemtech Dragon and Chemtech Soul Point. They absolutely don't need that. Meow's just going to side lane, start to farm up a little bit. We'll get his first item off of this back. And the Azir is also going to be a very strong scaling champion. We talked about could have been double AD carry. He had a rough start to the laning phase, but has otherwise been kind of the main character, I feel like, of this game. Vital is having some great plays as well, but his side laning has been really impactful, and he is going to try to, with his Demolish, take this turret down. Vital's with him, so he could bait this.
Yeah. And, yeah, I mean, Moham's heading up to Vital, who, those are both supports. Vital is 3 levels ahead. So somehow that happened as well. More roaming out of the Rel, I suppose, and Vital is obviously alongside the Nila. So it's just naturally, once again, just like game 1, going the way of Vital, and he's going to be a big force in this game. And
D+ looking for the punish here, and Vital and Ju are a little bit cut off, so I think they just really need to give this, I mean, not give up the turret, but just let it go for now. They can get it later. It's basically like 2 autos away from death. D+ with a big rotation up. This means Mihail, who does have teleport, is going to actually be able to counter map, cross map, get the bottom turret here. So good macro here from Nongshim in this neutral game where not a whole lot is happening. They give up the objective. They give up the Chemtech Dragon, but they're going to get this turret here. They're actually going to get both ultimately. See how well they defend the Herald.
Yeah, they just feel like they can't really, especially with 2 of their guys out on the map, but it's 2 turrets for 1. Yes, DK did get the middle tier 1, which is more valuable. As that is, yep, he's invisible, and now he's not. Ju's just gonna flash to get away, and thankfully he has that flash this time. But now Meganar coming on in, King and no ult available. Mihail is very much alone though, so not really able to keep anyone around and interested.
Yeah, there's not really much he can do. It was a nice idea there. Didn't teleport forward either, and it's kind of greedy to stay bottom and continue to push into that inner because it was at full health. They'll take the 2 turrets here for Ju's flash basically in the mid turret. Mid turret's still relevant as we saw from Kingan's flank there. You know, if that mid turret's down, you can go pretty deep. You have that additional map control and look for picks. It's just weird because we haven't really seen anyone play the Aurora as Kingan's playing it in this isolated game here where you're just constantly fishing for those angles. But with the map control they had, it is definitely a good idea. Senna is very immobile, does have the Edge of Night and the Cleanse. But, I mean, obviously team fights are where it's going to be at, but finding these other opportunities is really huge as well because the ultimate, even without Malignance, is on a relatively low cooldown. See, it's almost back up already.
Both of our top laners going for that Cosmic Drive second in all 3 Aurora games we have had, so it seems like that's just the build of choice today.
I mean, it's really strong,
yep.
And the extra stats, the movement speed is really helpful for closing the gap to set up that ultimate. So, you know, more ultimates versus better ultimates, you know, I guess is the argument here.
Yeah. I mean, it feels just very much like an Aurora item, so we're not too peeved about that one.
Yeah, I think it's totally fine. We were critical of it a little bit in the first game, I think, but watching it in action now, a few more games, I'm starting to come off on my Malignance high horse a little bit, you know, Valdez. I'm feeling pretty okay with it.
Yeah. And we've kind of hit a lull state.
He's doing it again.
Kingan is waiting. He's got a Mega Cone right next to him. Doesn't even really want to use that. He's just trying to stealth on in and engage. And, I mean, it makes it very difficult for anyone on Nongshim to really just stand there. And that's going to give them a chance now with 6 Void Grubs to hit the inner of the mid lane, as now the Neil ultimate is going to lock Moham in place, but he is Rel. Will he be tanking enough? The answer is no, as now we still have the flash ult engaged from Sylvie, and now a massive divide comes in from Fisher, catches 2 of them, forces so many of these ultimates to come out, but now we got the huge cage coming on down. Mihail looking for the engage, and he gets it on the 3, but the damage not quite coming through just yet for Nongshim. Finally, they get 1 in the trade, but Aiming and Kingan still alive on the backside.
Yeah, that was a very, very close fight there. Ultimately, Nongshim ended up getting the better end of the kills, but the turret still goes down. I feel like if D+ didn't get the turret there, you'd feel really rough about how that one all turned out, but it's Aiming who actually helped secure it there. In the end, they get Moham. They end up living through Kingan's engage, but it was a very, very scary setup. As Moham really wants to set up for this demolish into finishing off the turret, and then Ju comes through and takes him, or locks him up. And then when Kingan shows up here, he's got the ability to then lock them down on the exchange, because it looks like initially, okay, he's going to die here. He W's out of the Emperor's Divide, and outside of Fisher's, Zhonya's there. Look at this cage. It's getting massive amounts of value. And then Mihail, yes, it's a ton of CC here, but the follow-up damage is light there, and Kingan and Aiming will still get out. So ends up being a 2-for-1 there, but they get the inner turret, so extremely valuable for D+. As a one-team fight now, it means that inhibitor is just up for the taking.
Yeah, and we're just going to TP into this Chemtech Drake fight. Feels like DK are very much saying, we want to take all these Chemtech Drakes down. We don't want to allow you to hit that soul mark, or the soul point mark in this case. Nongshim looks like they do want to fight it. I mean, at this point, I feel like both teams wouldn't be too sad to go for a fight. Mihail is about to hit his Meganar.
Could be denied here. Huge play from Mihail, who now has his Narbar set, and Kingan's out of the fight for now.
Yeah, he could just, you know, zone Kingan away. They do not really have Kingan for now, but now the Maokai ultimate is going to be coming in. Sylvie does dodge it. He is on top of this. It is just a flip, and it goes to Lucid. As the smite not there for Sylvie once again. We get a big sweep on the disengage, but this true shot barrage into the Aurora ult is just disgusting. As now the damage is coming through. Fisher will fall, Danilo will fall, and DK are looking for more. Kingan with that mobility is going to find Vital, gives the kill over to Showmaker. That's 3, and the Drake to DK.
I mean, they kept Kingan out of the fight for so long, and by there I mean Mihail did, but it cost him a lot. And then when he shows up, you've got the Aurora ult, you've got the True Shot Barrage, and a big buster shot from Showmaker as well. Everything lining up. I thought the idea of pushing the Aurora out is a huge and smart one, because the comp is so reliant on her lockdown and damage to set up those fights with Lucid's ultimate. But when she shows up, I mean, they kept her out for a while, but when she shows up, the fight is over. It's lights out, and Nongshim now significantly behind, but that's before this Baron goes over. Talked about the mid-inner already being down. There's some standing gold they can grab off of the top turret here when they get this Baron. But look at this, Kingan's out of the fight. It's a great steal, or secure, I should really say. I mean, it's basically a 50-50 here. Lucid zoning them away. Fisher is rooted. He takes his opportunity, wins the smite with the smash coming through. And now Kingan's here. And when he's here, he puts us down. True shot. Watch the buster shot as well. Bam. And then Showmaker's just like, all right, how many jumps we get?
My work here is done.
Jiwoo ends up ulting to keep him at bay for a moment, but it is just done. Vital, unfortunately, no way out. Kingan, they kept him out for a little while, but it's hard to keep an Aurora down forever, and he's almost got death cap.
Yeah. I'm just glad that this very strong, almost overpowered champion is finally finding more success in the LCK, because this is what makes sense, I would say.
When you have a comp that makes sense for it, I feel like it looks really good. When you pick it for the tier list and then you don't build around it, it looks rough. I mean, not rough, but less good.
Yeah.
It still looks pretty good.
That's the thing. I mean, it's still a very good champ. Divaskia, very big Red Bull Baron power play at this point. Mihail is getting some bonus gold in the bottom lane, but it's still definitely advantage to Divaskia at this point.
They haven't been able to threaten this inhibitor turret directly just yet, and Jiwoo is going to be able to clear this wave, trying to put some pressure on the top lane. Got that top outer, so that's a large portion of that Baron power play right now. And it's significant advantages here for D+. You know, I mentioned it was, it's like almost 3,000 gold lead. Now we're looking at a nearly 4,000 gold lead for D+. But we've seen some big mistakes in fights. We've seen some shaky setups for D+, whether it's Lucid getting caught or Moham going in a little bit too deep, getting isolated or backing at a weird spot. Never want to say it's over till it's over. I haven't really been able to keep track of Jiwoo's, or rather Vital's stacks. Sorry, I mean, it's like,
yeah, no,
not
it makes
supposed
sense.
to be played by a support player, and he's an X80 carry player. I don't know.
Yeah,
I did it with the Guma game as well. But anyway, I don't know how many stacks he has, but he's starting to become a late game threat, as was the case in game 1. It's just keeping this Aurora at bay is so tough, and he's about to have death cap. That's the biggest problem, and they don't have map control, obviously, because they're facing this Baron for 30 more seconds, as Mihail may get punished as well as this Gnar expires.
Yeah, the timing of this is really rough for Mihail, and Showmaker really does want to make the most of this, as he will be forced to flash away, but Showmaker has his own flash. Not going to force the issue, as he knows, you know, take the little bonus win. You don't have to go crazy and try to chase Mihail all over around the map. And they do get his flash. This push will end with this wait.
It's at 101 stacks, you can see there. So, has quite a lot, but not quite the massive amount he had in game 1, but there's still a lot of time for him to get them. And it's still a good amount of stacks, don't get me wrong, and he has been stacking quite well.
103?
Yeah, there you go. So,
zooming.
Baron, they weathered the storm on that. Yes, they lost a decent amount of gold, and you can see the gold advantage here for D+ is quite strong, but they kept their inhibitors alive. The Azir still scaling up a little bit. Gnar going to be relevant in team fights if he can set up his Gnar bar like we saw in that last big fight. I do think this is still winnable for the side of Nongshim, especially if D+ make a mistake, or if they can catch Kingan, because Kingan keeps going on these wild flanks, And that's great, especially when you have this mid turret down. He's able to find a lot of success with his ultimate. But if you get caught by a Sejuani ult while you're trying to set up for that flank, while you're trying to set up your ultimate, and you get blown up, and that's out of the fight, it gets a lot easier for Nongshim to utilize their composition.
Yeah. Fisher very much going for a tanky build. Went for Zanya second, is going for the Abyssal Mask, I would assume, third. And Vital's taking some big damage. I mean, at the end of the day, aiming is still on Ezreal, and he hasn't had this huge pop-off game that he had in Game 2, but he's still extremely bad with this BT.
He's just being consistent, and he's positioning well. He's level 16.
Yeah,
the BT is going to be empowered by these Chemtech Dragons, of which they will now have 3.
Yeah.
So even if he gets hit by a few Azir autos, with some Sand Soldiers, he can just kind of walk it off and heal up real easily. So I feel like he is in a really good position to carry these team fights that Kingen sets up for him. And D+ are just not letting go of their map control. And Baron is over, but they're not. And they're pushing hard with this Tristana. Showmaker level 17. He has a ton of range as well set up, sitting on 3 items. They get some alone time with these turrets. It is going to be a huge problem for Nongshim, and they're just trapped in their base. It's practically a siege. Vital is just trying to pick up each and every soul he can find, stacking to 110 now. But they're going to need to win a team fight. You know, you can defend for a while, but eventually that Baron will respawn. 50 seconds to go. They are grouping towards that, clearing this mid wave, trying to set up some vision. There's only 1 control ward in the inventory of Fisher right now, so it's not like they can set up deep vision. They're too scared to come in here and check these brushes, so they're just going to hang around the Baron. Don't really get massive control. That's a good usage of the Mega Bloom to scry that ward away.
Yeah.
It is very oppressive when you have a lead with Chemtech Rift to take vision away, because D+ can just use that scryers and take all the wards away. Like all the hard work Nongshim are trying to set up here, it's just now gone.
And at the end of the day, if you're on the losing side, yes, you get vision from it, but you don't get to clear wards because you don't have position
exactly
on the objective. So you saw Sylvie hit a Mega Bloom, and he's like, well, yeah, I can see them. I know where the ward is. That's good information, but the ward is still there. Meanwhile, they don't have too much. Although I say that, and there are 2 wards now on the Barons, so Nongshim have taken some control back.
Mihail has his Narbar in a decent spot here, but I don't think he can win this all in.
Well, he might try for it.
No, he backed away. He has teleport, but not teleport advantage. I'd like this play more if he did have it. His Vital is going to go super low. We'll be able to heal up because he is Senna. But that's a pretty high-value True Shot Barrage that Aiming can now just queue his way back into from this mid-wave. He's going to get so much CDR. And Baron Pryo still in D+'s control. I feel like they're being a little bit timid with this lead, and I don't blame them, considering how this series has gone so far. Nongshim have been so tenacious in these team fights, especially in the late game. Now the Narbar is gone, so they could just kind of sit this one out.
Yeah, I do feel like some of the feedback for DK would have been, okay, well, if you're going to go for it, make sure you're 100% certain. So they haven't found any, 90, 95% chance opportunities. Speaking of which, Moham, once again, trying to frontline, he's just going to get poked down from Fisher, who is very strong.
Abyssal Mask online for him, and he has the Oblivion Orb. And the D+ are like, okay, no Narbar, no vision. We're going for this. The Senna ult will reveal the timing. This is a good angle for Nongshim.
Yeah,
the Maokai ult.
The Maokai ultimate just denies Sylvie, throws in an ult, but the damage is not there. He gets knocked away by Showmaker as well, and now everybody is in the Aurora ult. It is just a crazy team fight. Nilo will go down. Some big ultimates coming in from the Nara and the Azir. Fisher's still alive, but he eventually does fall, and that is one of the big pillars of Nongshim right now. DK, they take down the Baron. They take a nice turn fight afterwards. And Vital's just hitting the minions, trying to stop this game from ending.
Yeah, just going to try to clear this wave. I feel like if the game state was much closer, that actually could have been a winnable fight for Nongshim. The Buster Shot is fantastic. Guarantees there's nothing Sylvie could do. Maokai ult into Buster Shot means no steal, guaranteed Baron. And yes, great Gnar coming through from Mihail. Fisher's ult was awesome as well, but G was taken out of the fight early, and Vital can only do so much. And I think D+ still likely end off of this top wave. No way to defend without Fisher. 20 seconds on the Azir.
Yeah, they just don't really have wave clear with these two specifically, especially against the Baron. And that's should be enough to get the job done as the Nexus is open. Miles going in. He's got a Meganar. He only hits aiming, and he's just being chunked by that very man himself. As Sylvie also going to be locked in. Fisher trying his best. They are desperate, but it is not going to happen. D plus Kia, they do get across the line and take the series 2-1. After losing that first game, they pull it back.
Game 2 definitely looked like a winnable one for Nongshim as well, but Game 3 I feel was the most one-sided D+ controlled game we saw of the three, and Kingen controlled those team fights, got the picks in mid, and even though they try to keep him down, keep him out of the pit, keep him out of those fights, eventually the Aurora will prevail. And once they lost map control, it became so much tougher to play out this composition. The early mid-turret take from D+ really ended up being quite valuable for them. Some good macro, though, from Nongshim. You know, trading some dragons they didn't care about for top and bot turrets as Kingen looks relieved.
Yeah.
I think that Nongshim definitely should be proud of how they played today. And coming off of that win over T1 just a few days ago, too, I think you're going to have a good, happy end of the season regardless. For D+ fans, I think on one hand, you're a little bit concerned about some of the drafting we saw and some of the ways in which D+ won and some of the ways in which they nearly lost. But it's just at the end of the day, a regular season game that doesn't matter as much as aiming. Yeah, I like this pose because he did a lot of heavy lifting in this series.
He definitely did. I mean, yes, Ezreal was nerfed, but aiming is still aiming on Ezreal, and I think you have to respect that. It's still very strong, and we see what the True Shot Barrage can still do despite the nerfs to the Q. I still think that Ezreal is in a really good spot. Looks like Showmaker's not too happy. I feel like his game 1 and 2 weren't the greatest, for sure. And, I mean, that's fair. But, you know, it's one of the days. I'm sure he'll get over it.
Game 3 also kind of getting punished by Fisher in sides and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that it was his fault. It was just really clutch and unusual decision-making from Fisher as well. Like, just saying, no, I'm going to go in point-blank range and ult you here when Showmaker didn't have vision of whether jungler was there or not. Just some really smart decision-making, like this play here from Fisher. It's the way in which he did this. Has the ult from the Senna as well. Yeah. Just very clean. Like moments like this, you're frustrated as Showmaker because you think you know you're fine. You think you know you're safe. Just gets outplayed. Kingen, though, stole the show for me. And I think a lot of it was Aurora, but I think a lot of it was Kingen as well. I voted for him in this one. The team fights are all about him. Even the delayed ultimates that we saw in some of these, like this one, were so impactful.
Good buster shot from, you know, support Tristan. No, I mean, yeah, it was good buster shots from Showmaker.
I mean, bustering them into the wall is...
This one, too, you know, pushes him back.
Yeah, no, he denies the smite. Look, Showmaker should not be disappointed with his performance. I think he's disappointed with the fact that he wasn't the main character, and I think that's kind of a Showmaker-ism, right? A lot of the time, over these last few matches, they've gotten the wins, but he hasn't been the guy.
Unfortunately for him, the guy on the squad right now is aiming. So... And Lucid kind of enables everybody. Sometimes it's Showmaker, but most of the time it is the Ezreal player.
It is good to see, though, when they're giving the resources to aiming.